Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Live Your Best Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Whitney Shayo.
And I'm your host, Pesa Shayo.
And of course, this is the place where we believe that all the marriages out there have a chance to be awesome and long-lasting.
Yes, every marriage has a chance to be awesome and fulfilling.
That's right. And you guys can always reach out to us on Twitter. I'm at Whitney Shayo.
And I'm at Pesa Shayo.
You can like us on Facebook.
Which is Facebook.com/Live Your Best Marriage.
And of course, you can subscribe to the blog at liveyourbestmarriage.com.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we are just super excited because now our podcast is not only available on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, all the places where you can find podcasts, but on YouTube now with video. So we are just, and also we post it on our blog as well. So these videos and these audio recordings can be found just about anywhere, and we are just super, super excited about that.
Oh, yeah, we are super excited just to be there for you as you're living your marriage, because we always believe that every marriage has a chance to be awesome and to be fulfilling. But that does not mean that everything has to be perfect every day. There's sometimes you might hit that sweet spot and you might just feel like you are in heaven. Sometimes it might not feel like you are connected at all. But we are just giving you some tips to help you have more of those moments where you feel like everything is magical.
Yes, absolutely. So every time you guys give us a 5-star rating or you put in one of those loving comments, it just totally makes our day.
Oh, yes, it does. And
so we're just glad that we're able to reach so many people.
Yes, and we also love the fact that some of the tips that we share, actually we use them for ourselves. Yes. This podcast, in a way, it's built in a way to actually help us. It's a problem that we were trying to solve for ourselves, and if we can use it to also help to touch other folks, the more the better. Right. Yes.
Absolutely. So today we wanted to go over 7 tips to affair-proof your marriage.
7 tips to affair-proof your marriage.
Yeah, which is really interesting because I don't talk about affair care a lot in our blog because I feel like I don't have the experience to talk about it. We've never gone through an affair. So, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know how much I should be talking about that. But then I realized, okay, well, we've been together for 13 years and we've never had an affair. So I think it would be appropriate for us to go ahead and share tips that we use, things that we do.
Yes.
To just avoid having that happen to us.
Oh, yes.
So the first tip is simply avoiding thinking that it would never happen to you.
Okay.
Just making the assumption that you're immune to affairs or that your relationship is just so perfect that temptation would never come up. And sometimes before the temptation even starts to show up, I think that everyday life just coming between a couple and that gradual drifting apart is really what makes room for the temptation.
Okay, so
that's what I would think.
So you feel like the fact that you are not doing something to keep you guys together, you are not you're not working hard to bring you each other together, that in itself is working to spread you apart?
I think that, like even myself, I think, okay, well, that's not going to happen to us. It's just not.
Yes.
That's just.
So you have to have that belief that it's not going to happen to begin with.
No, I think having the belief in a way really could let your guard down.
Okay, so you feel like to affair-proof your marriage is more like you're putting a guard up.
Yes,
you're putting boundaries.
Yes.
Before you need them.
Yes. Okay, you're putting up a guard because you know that you're not immune to it. you know that it is something that can happen to anyone.
Okay.
And I think one of the easiest ways for it to come up is just when you guys gradually drift apart.
Yes.
I just think that that's what would make it easy for temptation to start.
To start coming in, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, that was number one.
So the first thing is just know that you are not immune to it.
Yes.
You have to actually work hard
to prevent
it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, okay, number 2 is to recognize the needs that each of you have and then take care of those needs.
Okay.
So that's just the basic of a relationship, obviously.
So some of the needs are what?
So basically, if you have a physical need or an emotional need that your spouse is not meeting, that's when a lot of people who have had affairs say, well, yeah, that's what I went looking for.
So give me an example of an emotional need that you might have and it's not being taken care of.
An emotional
by me.
need. It could be, oh, no, well, no.
Hey, there has to be some emotional need that you had that I wasn't taking care of it, and then maybe you made me aware of it.
An example could be, I mean, it could range from anything to anything, really.
So
it could be if you feel like you need someone to talk to, you feel like you need support, if you're going through a rough time at your job, or you're having a difficult time with the kids. Maybe the kids are in that toddler stage where they're just constantly crying. They're just fussy a lot. And you need someone who will actually listen to those concerns.
So, for example, for you, did you have a time where you wanted to be listened to and you're not being listened to?
Yeah,
and
of course
you would,
have.
at that moment, if you are not being listened to, you would have gone outside the marriage to be listened to?
No, I wouldn't have gone outside the marriage. But yes, I am a real person, a real woman with real feelings, and I have gone through that. I have felt like I'm not being heard.
Okay.
I've just never happened to be in a situation where there was some dude waiting to listen to my problems.
So if at that moment there was somebody to listen to your problems, you would have
I can see the temptation. I can totally see how if every day somebody's, trying to get through to their spouse, they're trying to say, okay, hey, I'm having an issue with XYZ.
Yes.
Please help me on this. Or just please, I just need someone to just understand. I need someone to listen. I can totally see the temptation of just talking to someone at work or a friend that you know, because you just there's a need that needs to be met.
Okay.
And so, but again, that is where the slippery slope comes in.
Okay.
Because you're building that connection with someone else. If this is happening, if these conversations are happening with someone who is obviously opposite sex and they're attractive and they're single, that is definitely
or if they're married too.
They could be married too. They could be married to someone else.
Okay.
So anyway, just knowing the needs and being able to take care of the needs, whatever they might be. For anybody, it could be anything, really. Everyone has different issues at different times. Yes. And so it's nice to have a spouse who actually recognizes those types of things. Okay. So tip number 3 is basically just define what monogamy means to you in your relationship.
So what does it mean to you?
So first of all, the couple needs to come up with their own guidelines, I think, because what I would consider an inappropriate, flirty behavior, someone else might not think so.
So like what? So give me an example, because I'm trying to help myself understand what we would consider as monogamy And some
So,
people might not, because I thought monogamy was just one thing, like you're staying with one person.
right.
Yeah, so what do you consider as
There's just,
monogamy?
well, you have to take into consideration all the different behaviors.
So give me an
So, for
example.
example, if one spouse is really, really flirty at dinner parties or meetings or wherever,
Okay.
and the other one is not, that could
One might
be
think that is
like they might
cheating.
think like it's just too flirty. They might think, okay, I don't feel like you're 100% loyal
Oh.
when or also like tech when it comes to texting other people or things that you do on Facebook.
So you're saying there's some couples
So
who might think flirting is okay,
one
and
spouse,
like both
yeah.
of them, they might think flirting is okay, and in that relationship they will just be out there flirting, but they are at the same time not. They don't feel like they're cheating.
But the other one, if the other spouse thinks it's inappropriate, then I would say, yeah, it's inappropriate.
Because that's the
Don't
same.
do it.
I think even with the movie like the actors, you see like one person in the relationship is in a movie and they're doing things in that movie which is part of their job,
Right.
and you think they're crossing the line, but I bet maybe in that relationship what they define as monogamy is not what somebody else might define as monogamy.
Right.
Yes.
They might say, well, it's for work.
Yes.
So maybe it doesn't bother them
Yes.
the way it would someone else, I'm sure.
Yes.
So it's just those types of things. It can be mostly flirting and texting and talking and friendships before you even discuss like just full blown cheating, like the physical aspect of it.
Yes.
So tip number 4 is do not talk to like old friends and old flames. So, and this is mostly this.
That's mostly on Facebook, right?
We've seen this come up so much for couples on Facebook.
Yes.
It's a click away. It's one click away to reestablish a connection with someone that you knew in high school or middle school or whatever, college. And you have to ask yourself, is it worth it?
Is it? Yeah.
You kind of have to think ahead on this. You have to think, okay, is it going to bring back those old feelings I used to have about that person? Or
Yes.
is this something that is going to make my spouse uncomfortable?
And sometimes.
And
So do you
Yeah.
prefer that before you click to reestablish that friendship to get an okay from your spouse?
I think that if a couple wants to have an agreement just in general and just say, you know what, we really probably should not connect with people like that. I don't know, because the reason why I think it's such a huge problem is because a lot of folks are absolutely relentless about keeping in touch with
Oh yes.
people that
they went to high school with.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the thing is, they knew them for such a short time. I mean, high school was only 4 years. And it was so long ago. But if you've been married to your spouse for 10 years or
7 years.
Or 7 years.
4 years.
Or 12
whatever. Yes.
years or 15 years, you are with your spouse every single day for all of those years. Why would someone that you knew for such a short time that you just went to class with, why would they be such a priority to you? And I've noticed.
And I think for a lot of folks, it's because high school represents a time when they were growing up, and it brings, in our culture, high school brings so much memories of like when we were growing up, when we were trying to find our identity as who we are.
Right.
So it feels like we went through a time with this person where we are trying to find our own identity. Sounds like,
I get it.
yeah, blah, blah, blah. But
I get it.
I like your point that you brought up, the fact that high school was only 4 years, and this person you might even have known them for 1 year of the four, and high school is so long time ago that why is it so important that this person has to be your friend while your spouse, who you spend every day with for the last 10 years, 7 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever, takes the back seat?
Right. And I just, the private messaging is something that I just do not even think is acceptable. And again, every couple needs to decide what they think is appropriate and what works for them. But my personal opinion is I do not think private messaging will bring any good results.
So do you have any high school friends on your Facebook?
There's a couple of young ladies that I was friends with. I honestly feel like I'm just too busy to even remember
all of them.
high school. I mean, I can't. Our school was so big. We had at least 300 kids in our graduating class.
Oh, wow, it's pretty big.
And I moved around a lot as a kid anyway, so it is really, really, it would be hard for me to even remember their names. And for my friends, if they're married, it's kind of hard to find their new last name.
Oh, yes.
For a girl. So I think, and I use my married last name, so maybe it's really difficult to find. I'm sure it is hard to find some people, and I'm not really interested in knowing what they're doing now. For some reason, I'm not. I have so many great new friends that I've met just in the last few years. And I don't know, for me, having 4 kids and everything else that I do, I just feel like I don't even have room in my brain for anything else.
Just even to look for them.
I just, anyways, we're on the back end of Facebook anyway.
Yeah.
We're managing Facebook pages, so it's kind of, anyways, that's another story for another day. But
so just basically don't have a lot of, don't rekindle those feelings that you had in high school, because they are not helping your relationship at this moment.
No,
they're not help building your relationship.
So you guys will have to decide what you think is acceptable when it comes to those types of things.
Okay.
So tip number 5 is always make time for physical intimacy. And it's totally, totally normal for a married couple to just feel tired. And I know I feel drained lately.
You do?
Especially, I just feel so drained. I go through seasons where I'm just completely exhausted. And so again, that's normal. But at the same time, you definitely want to make sure that you make time to have that connection, because without it, things just become more and more difficult.
So when you say physical, did you say physical intimacy? What do you mean?
Physical intimacy.
Touching hands.
Holding hands. Always make time for the sexual intimacy with your spouse. Always make it a priority, because
do you like put it on the calendar, put a schedule for
whatever you have to do it. Just
do it.
Do that, because
what do you do?
It's something I told you, I'm going through a season right now where I'm totally drained, and I'm just like
what do you do?
I'm just glad I'm alive right now. Let me put it that way.
So are you saying something that you don't like?
So
do
basically just always make that
and
a priority.
This issue that you're saying that you're drained, at that time that you're drained, what is the best way to handle? Because not like everybody will get to those seasons where they'll be drained, and at that time they won't even have time for physical or sexual intimacy. What should they do at that moment so that they can be able to continue having the physical and sexual intimacy? That way they are not being pulled apart. They are not drifting apart.
tip that I have ever heard anywhere is put it on the calendar.
Put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's the best tip, because if something is not scheduled, it probably won't happen.
Now, if it's
That's the best.
if it's scheduled, don't you think it's gonna be so mechanical and not full of feelings and love?
Well, no,
you thought it's like,
I think a bigger problem might be if it doesn't happen for some reason. If you're not able to do it, then I think the disappointment would be huge, because you're like, okay, I knew we were gonna do this on this day or whatever, this evening, and the kids were crying or whatever, and it didn't happen. So I think that an issue that could come from that is the disappointment.
okay.
If it doesn't work out. But again, scheduling it definitely is one of the best tips I've ever heard. Number 6 is do not confide in someone that you are not married to.
Yeah, and that
So
does that also go hand in hand with don't rekindle old flames?
yep, yes, that works too. This one, I always think of coworkers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I always think of how in the office or the whatever type of setting your job is in, sometimes you're in a, what would you call that? A close proximity.
Yeah.
I guess is what I would call that. And so when you're frustrated with something, I mean, I think it's only natural to talk about it. You're kind of, it's just a natural thing to rant and, but unfortunately, if this is happening with a specific person that, of the opposite sex, I mean, I think that's definitely sending them a message that the door is open.
Oh.
Like, hey, it kind of lets them know, like, hey, there's something wrong here. Mm-hmm. And so, well, if they're not happy anyway, then,
I can be there.
Yeah, I can be there. Yeah, exactly.
I can be there. And also, if they are actually telling me this, sounds like they really think I am the right person to help them.
Yep, absolutely. So tip number 7 is just always show how much your partner means to you.
Yes.
So this is the biggest one. I would say that this one is more like safeguard your marriage, because when you actually show how much you love your spouse,
yes.
and you show them, you're always able to remind them, how much you appreciate them. I just feel like that's such a great way to stay connected
to your spouse.
Yeah, I really do. And just give them as much attention as you possibly can.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, on a normal day, just think of all the different things that your attention span has to go to.
A lot.
So if yeah, a lot. It is really
a lot.
I mean, again, I can definitely attest to that. So being able to direct some of that attention to the person you love, really, it means a lot.
A lot, yes.
Honestly, in such a busy time.
So you can even like send them a text message. You can buy flowers. You can buy them lunch. You can just so many things just to show that they really mean something to you.
Yep. Of course. Even just sitting on the couch next to them.
Oh, yeah.
Watching TV instead of sitting on opposite sides of the room. I mean,
we need to come together.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. So folks, we'll go through we'll just read the list really, really quick before we go. Number 1 was don't assume that an affair could never happen to you.
It might. You have to really safeguard your marriage.
Yes. And number 2 was recognize and meet the needs in your relationship. Number 3, define what monogamy means to you guys.
Yes.
4, quit talking to old flames and old friends.
Don't rekindle that fire.
Number 5, always make time for sex. Number 6, don't confide in someone that you're not married to. And number 7, just always show how much your partner means to you.
Cool.
So, folks, that is the list of 7 tips to prevent an affair. And as always, we love having you and listening, and we will be back in a few days. We do our podcast Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yes.
So until next time, thank you so much.
And don't forget to subscribe. In iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn. And if you are listening to this, you can also watch this on YouTube. Just go to the Live Your Best Marriage YouTube channel, and you can actually see this podcast. So folks, until next time, bye and God bless.
Are you tired of being upset, lonely, feeling empty, or just plain frustrated with your marriage? And no matter how hard you try, you're not getting anywhere, just going in circles? No matter how much you try to make time for one another in your schedule, or how many times you say, "I'm sorry," Pesa and I have put together 99 ideas to help you connect with that one special person, so that things can start to be more like the way they were before everyday life got in the way and caused the two of you to drift apart. We want you to have 99 ways to show love to your spouse, absolutely free. You can find it at 99waystoshowlovetoyourspouse.com. Because here at Live Your Best Marriage, we truly hope that the two of you can move closer together and enjoy the connection that comes from achieving a stronger bond. Again, that's 99waystoshowlovetoyourspouse.com. That's the number 99waystoshowlovetoyourspouse.com.